Okay, folks, welcome to my second lecture here on exploring the human-computer interface and what the Digerati know. Okay, so my talk today is going to be again about learning new software here. So we'll talk about just general concepts. We have categories of software, like word processor might be a category of software. We can have a variety of different providers of that particular application. So we have word processor, we use Microsoft Word, we can use Microsoft Work, so we can get totally away and use maybe Open Office, or you're using a open source word processor, or what's another example, Google Docs. Maybe use some sort of cloud-based word processor, okay? But we create new instances, all right? So that's our word processor, and if we're going to create a new instance, that would be like creating a new document, a new file. We have, I know in class we looked at some imaging software packages. We pull up an image and we did some some variety of I don't know what we did. We increased the lighting in it, or we reduced the resolution, or whatever it was. And every time that we work with a new image, that's a new instance of the software, okay? And a lot of times we have blank instances, like I start a new word processing document, it's a blank instance, okay? And we always usually save it right away, use a save as or some other process along those lines, okay? So here is an instance, and I actually have this. I get back to my cell phone. I have an instance I have an address book there, and I can create a new instance of a contact. All right, somebody can call me, or I can have them call me and say, "Hey, give me a quick call, and I'll make sure you're in my address book." And that creates a new contact or a new instance of that. All right, simple idea. One other kind of concept when we're dealing with learning new software is that we expect some feedback. So one of the feedback mechanisms, if I'm downloading a big file, I might see some sort of gauge going across or showing progress. It might be a bar, it might be something spinning around in circles. So it doesn't leave me hanging going, what the heck is going on, when I'm waiting for a file to download, for instance, okay? For reading from the slide here, button click, a GUI might show highlighting, shading, color changes, graying, you might hear a beep, hourglasses, all that stuff are ways that, and we expect this. When something happens, then we want to get a response. What's going on? Okay, so we expect feedback. So when you learn new software, one of the terms we do is we click around, right? We explore, all right? We look at the GUI interface. We look at what operations might be available, and we look for those maybe interfaces that are consistent with other things that we learned or have in our background somewhere, or metaphors, or I mentioned a simple idea. If I have some sort of MP3 player, it might mimic the controls on might mimic something on my stereo, where I have an up and down button for the volume. Okay, so we try to mimic real world. Step 2 in learning new software, after we get done clicking around, we become a little more assertive, and they say blazing away is what your author uses here. So we're assertively exploring features. We might not even have a clue of what they're doing. All right, and things are. One of the really great things about teaching kids is they're not afraid to break things. As we get older in life, we might get a little more conservative. So realize that when you're working with software, it might be okay to play with things. You shouldn't break them. And remember, you always have undo. Like my word processor, it's Control-Z is undo, or that's true in my image processing software. So concentrate on operations related to whatever the task needs to be done, and don't be afraid to explore. Okay? Watch others. It's a great way to learn software, especially in a classroom environment. Hey, how did you do that? Or if you have a teacher up there and they're instructing you on a new maybe a new feature or skill, it's like, wait a minute, stop, let's see that again. Okay? And we find some consistency again. Like we looked at when we use a select operation, we can select the whole list of them by holding down the shift key and clicking on the first one and last one. That will give me the whole list. If I want to select maybe individual ones, I might use the control key. So I'll control, and then I'll select items 1, 7, and 10. All right. So there's lots of little tricks, and once you learn one, it's helpful as you learn other similar tricks, because a software designer, they all try and follow things that we are familiar. Okay, and then also watch others, ask others, hey, how'd you do that? That's a great way to learn software. Okay, here's an example. I'll explain this diagram here, and you got this in your textbook if you're not able to see it here. So here's three, and don't look at this as a stoplight, but look at these as different controls. All right, and we might application of this, we might turn on the red light sometimes, the yellow light, the green light, or all three of them on there. So we select these. We can just select the red one, or we can just select the green one, or we can select the red one. Whoops, sorry. Let me move back here. Or we could select the red one, hold down the control key, and then select the green one. Okay, so we have multiple selection mechanisms. And those are pretty consistent across all our software products. All right, here's another principle. Form follows functions. All right, so fundamental operations of a software system and the way they work are determined by the tasks they're trying to solve. So GUIs might even look a little different, but if you have two word processors or two software systems, they might just have a little different way of doing the same task. Okay, so the GUI is, it's superficial, but think about what you're doing. So if I get plopped down, somebody says, all right, we're taking away all your modern word processors, and I'm going to sit you down and use the 1988 version of WordPerfect. Okay, I should be able to do that because I know I might want to go ahead and, well, what might I do? Change font, right? I know that there's a way to change the font. It's just a matter of figuring out how to do it, and I'm doing it now from a maybe a command prompt or an interpreter interface as opposed to a GUI. All right. Another point here, or another principle as we go through this, is similar applications have similar features. So text processing applications, all of them. You use a cursor to mark your place. Backspace removes the character to the left. My email's that way. Two music players might have two different MP3 players. They look different, but both are going to do the same thing. All right. So keep that in mind. All right. And then vendors step in here and they say, well, mine's more convenient. Mine's faster. Mine interacts with other systems better. But the bottom line is we're trying to do the same operation. All right, and I keep throwing this example out because I think it's such a good example. And I'm about ready to run down and get another cell phone. I'm past my 2 years. I'm going to get another one, and I'm not going to quite know how all the features work, but I'll spend a little time with it, and I will base it upon what my current phone does. All right, not a big deal. Okay, and so last I guess kind of point that I'll wrap up with here is take advantage of similarities. Form follows function principle is important because, one, new versions of familiar software will share core functions, many features and quirks of earlier versions. All right, so things that work similar are gonna be consistent. I recognize, just give you an example here. Office 2007 came out not too long ago. And it was a huge transition for some folks to migrate from their older version of Office, or maybe it was 2003. And they had some new, I think they had a task ribbon or some other features out there, and it really threw people for a loop. But you spend a little time with it and you can find the same functions. All right, so what really happened in that process? Well, the vendor said, a more efficient way for our users to put a header in would be if we put it over in this menu. And so I, as a user, look and say, all right, I got to put a header in my document. How do I do it? But I know it's a header. I know the vocabulary with it. Okay. So when we're frustrated with one vendor software, we can learn the other. It's just a matter of figuring out what that means. Okay.